Welcome to REMIC TV. I'm Jasmine Bowen and you are watching What's Going On. Now, before we get into our great video today, I just want to remind our viewers, $500 is going every month to one lucky contest winner. That's right, folks. $500 just for telling all your friends about the great stuff that you see here on REMIC TV. I know you do that anyway, so why not get paid to do it? Click on our contest banner, enter your friends' names, and we'll tell them all about the great stuff on REMIC TV, and you could win $500. You can also do it on Facebook as well if you're on our Facebook group. And at the end of the contest, which will be a secret month, we will be giving away a grand prize of $10,000. $10,000 just for telling your friends about the great stuff on REMIC TV. So make sure to click on the contest banner and get right at it. Now, I'd like to welcome a very special guest on the show. We have Lakeisha. Lakeisha, thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Lakeisha, you have a number of businesses going on, so instead of doing a whole spiel for you, I'll let you speak for yourself. Why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Okay, well, as you stated, my name is Lakeisha McKnight, and I'm originally from New Jersey and currently right now just residing in Virginia. And by profession, a lot of my background comes from the field of social work. So I've done a lot of work with working with families, working with youth, as well as other professionals. So a lot of my background, again, comes from the field of social work. I've done some work in the area of acting in the earlier part of my career, where I would travel around New Jersey, I would travel to Pennsylvania, and I would conduct and perform skits. And the purpose of those skits was to help to decrease in the area of sexism and discrimination and this type of social concerns. And then I began to engage in a lot of ministry work, and this really took place after I graduated from my undergrad school, which was Penn State University. And after graduating from there, I then continued, of course, with ministry work and then branched into motivational speaking and professional speaking. And it was there that I then began to pursue graduate work. I completed some undergrad work at Norfolk State University here in Virginia, and then progressed and moved forward into the area of leadership and business development. So with these things in mind, it helped to strengthen my skills, and now I've been able to develop a couple of companies. And the first one that I created was a nonprofit organization. And the name of the nonprofit organization is Kingdom Expansion Enterprises. And the purpose of this organization is to provide a comprehensive set of services for children and families within the local community here in the Hampton Roads area of Virginia.
Now, Lakeisha, most people who are into motivational speaking and providing these kind of charitable services, they usually have a story that motivated them to that point. So what was your story? What motivated you to help others?
Well, what really motivated me to help others, specifically with children and families, is because of my previous work. See, I've done a lot of work with children and families before in the area of child protective services, dealing with abuse and neglect. And a lot of my background, for example, personal experiences that I've encountered, for example, being a victim of sexual abuse myself, has really encouraged me to want to really reach out to a lot of children, boys and girls, to help them to understand that they too can overcome in the area of abuse and be able to strengthen their family relationships as well as other social relationships so that they can have a more healthier and productive life.
Now, this is a personal story. What was this, a husband or a family member? What happened to you?
What happened specifically, it involved a family member.
Okay.
And in many cases, of course, what I found is that a lot of these instances specifically happens within the family, but it's underreported. So because of that, a lot of children do not get the treatment that they need to help them to overcome.
And how young were you?
I was around the age of 7.
Oh dear. So it was quite, you were growing up and just forming your own life.
Yes. And it was a bit confusing. When that happens, especially with the family member, you're confused. You're not really sure how to respond, and especially if it's involving an adult, which it was, you're going to do what's asked of you to do. So you don't really know any better. You're just following instructions and directions until, you become of age and you realize that what happened was, someone taking advantage of you. But then the more mature reaction is now, having understand how this happens, the process in which this works, I'm able to help others to forgive those who have done these type of things to them as well.
Now, in your case, was the situation resolved or was it never dealt with?
Oh, it was resolved. It came to full light because it not just happened to me, but other members of the family as well.
Okay. And when you were working in social work, didn't you find it kind of triggering some of these memories again? I'm sure you must have seen some of the same cases.
Well, not really, because once you begin to change your mindset behind the things that happen, it's easier to look forward into the future and not really dwell on the wrongdoings of other people, because I realized that I've done things that were not exactly morally correct as well.
Yes.
And so because of that helps me to easily forgive them. I can't forget it, but
of course
I
not. Yes.
And be able to move forward.
Now, this is a very strong thing you've done to come forward. There's a lot of people who this is kind of knocked down for life and who are never able to recover from it. And when you were in social work, did you see some of this happening of people who possibly wouldn't be able to recover from it?
Yes. I mean, there are cases where, because of the amount of trauma that the actual situation actually helped this individual to face, the trauma was so difficult that they were not able to move forward. A lot of people are now suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder.
Right.
They're suffering from, depression because of these issues that they faced in their childhood. And many of them now, of course, are engaging in alternative lifestyles because of this. And it's been proven that over 90% of cases where, people, they say, for example, that they've been born a certain way, of course, liking a member of the same sex, a lot of these instances have involved people who have been traumatized as in their youth.
So you think that, for example, liking a member of the same sex is a result of being scared early on of the opposite sex?
Not necessarily scared, but because of some type of trauma that they've faced. And in many instances, it's because of some type of sexual trauma.
Okay.
Some type of family trauma.
Okay. Now, do you think this is the only way that it can happen? Or, I mean, some people are possibly born to have an inclination towards the same sex, or you think it's more trauma-based?
A lot of times, the greater percentage is because of the trauma. I can say that there could be some type of neurological concern going on at birth, but a lot of it is internal, a lot of it is trauma-based, based on the things that they faced in their childhood.
Now, do you think this is the only way that it can happen? Or, I mean, some people are possibly born to have an inclination towards the same sex, or you think it's more trauma-based?
A lot of times, the greater percentage is because of the trauma. I can say that there could be some type of neurological concern going on at birth, but a lot of it is internal, a lot of it is trauma-based, based on the things that they faced in their childhood.
That's interesting. When you're speaking, do you ever run across people who have the opposite view of that? I know that a lot in the gay and lesbian community, they believe very strongly that they've been born this way and that there's nothing wrong with it, there's no trauma in their household.
A lot of it, and again, some people, of course, they have their different perspectives on the topic, but what research has found, a lot of researchers have found, is because of the amount of trauma. And I let them know, I mean, you can, of course, record your story, your perspective of it, and usually what happens is when people face trauma, there's a lot of complexity behind that, including the ability to alternate or change the way that people in general would normally view things. So it has some type of mind-altering ability as well. Based out of trauma.
It is. It's a very different perspective from some of the other stuff we've heard out there, especially with the, here in Toronto, we have the Gay Pride Parade. It's a lot of being born this way. Is there anything else that you think trauma affects that's necessarily or possibly opposite from the mainstream view of things?
Well, with trauma, it can lead to a lot of things. I mean, of course, it can it can help people, it can push people towards having problems within their marriage, because we hear the steady lingo and the common term, a lot of women will say all men are dogs. Well, it doesn't necessarily mean that all men are dogs. It's just that the people that you've been attracted to, whatever's in the inside of an individual, you are more than likely to attract. So if you're hurting in the inside, if you experience a lot of trauma internally, that's what you're going to attract in your life. So if you're used to, for example, watching or viewing a mother and a father who have engaged in an abusive relationship, more than likely, because you see that growing up, you're going to be attracted to that type of individual as an adult yourself. Therefore, finding yourself in abusive relationships, your own self, because it's a norm now.
Right. Could it also be attraction to, you don't know anything else if you grew up in an abusive household, so you just go for what is unfortunately familiar.
Right. That's exactly right. You're absolutely correct with that.
It's a different perspective from what we've heard on the show. So you're a motivational speaker, and you travel across the U.S. for this?
Yes, I travel throughout the United States. I travel, of course, abroad as well. Just recently coming back from Africa and doing some work there as well. So a lot of my work now, I've shifted from not just focusing in on, really empowering young people, whether it's high school students or college students, but now I speak to a lot of professionals because they too need encouragement and empowerment in the area of personal development, so that they will be able to have successful careers as well. So I do a lot of motivational training, helping people in the area of professional speaking so that they can share their story, share their message, as well as their strategies.
Now, in terms of your education and your qualifications for this, what is there? Because you went from social work into speaking based on your own experiences, and now you're coaching others. So, what type of education do you have to back this?
Well, a lot of it again has a lot to do with not just personal experience, but also the training that I received at Regent University. Okay. I also received some doctoral level training. In the area of strategic thinking, strategic learning, strategic leadership specifically. And what this does is that it helps you in the area of business development. It helps you in the area of understanding the structure of organizations, as well as what it takes to actually build a strong business, especially in today's economy.
Right. Now, you mentioned you traveled overseas. Are you finding some cultural differences with speaking to young people in Africa versus young people in the States? What are you finding that you have to tailor your message differently?
Yes, you have to really look at the culture of the people. Okay. Where you're going to speak, because they have a different way of thinking about things, but their hunger for learning is absolutely different. I'm not saying that here in the United States there's not a hunger, but it's more appreciated abroad. Okay. Than here, and they take advantage of the opportunities better across seas than they do here, because there in other countries, of course, they're developing, whereas here we have a lot of resources available to us. So in a way, sometimes it can be as though we're not really utilizing what we have to the fullest extent that we can.
So I guess you like speaking over there a little bit more because they lap it up a little bit more.
Yes, because they have a hunger for it and they want it, and they're easy to apply the concepts and principles that we teach them over there.
So do you find that you have to not dumb it down is not the right word, but simplify it more when you're over there, or change your message?
Yes, I do have to take it in levels and steps.
Absolutely.
So you would first, of course, provide some type of presentation for those who are at that beginner stage, those who are looking to start a business, really trying to find out what their niche is and trying to find out what area, what market they want to focus on, and how are they going to, for example, implement a payment system. So a lot of it, and because they're not technically advanced and they don't really have access to these systems, they have to find an alternative way to make all of this work. And so this is what I'm helping a lot of the students with, and I'm still in contact with a lot of them now in Africa, just trying to help them, especially a lot of women. A lot of women are really branching out over there in Africa, trying to start their own businesses.
So it is very different, and I mean some of the blessings that you have in the States that you maybe take for granted, they don't have anything over there at all.
Not at all. Even the roads are still being constructed over there.
Wow.
There are a lot of dust roads over there. They have their rainy season and their dust season. And so even the infrastructure over there is still being worked on.
Taking roads for granted, that takes things to a whole new level. We will be right back with what's going on. This is REMIC TV, and we're talking to Lakeisha McKnight, a motivational speaker who offers some different perspectives on perhaps the gay and lesbian community, on child abuse, and much, much more. So make sure to go take a drink, take your dog for a walk, come on back and check out the second part of this video.